I I just did some energy work on myself in meditation, and I was able to, it's gonna sound really crazy, but I really could really feel all the unspoken, unfelt, unexpressed emotions that the women in my lineage are holding in their womb, in their womb. Oh, it's so freaking intense. So intense. I can't even say one thing. It's like there's so much. There's so much. There's so much. There's so much of everything. There's so much pain. There's so much grief. There's so much rage. There's so much shame. Oh gosh, it's so much shame. Oh gosh. Oh my god, chills. So one thing I learned on this journey is that it's so impossible to trying to figure out what is this and where it's from. And sometimes obviously things may come up, but like what I found on my journey is that it doesn't really matter because so much of it is energetic that we're picking up from the collective. So much of it is stuff that oh, 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 stuff that stuff from generations. So many stuff. Oh, oh, oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's really intense. It's really, 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 really intense. Oh, so when we work, when I work with, obviously, when I work on myself and with clients on something that's arising in the body, something that's being kept in the body, we are getting to know it, but not necessarily like always what exactly is this. Sometimes it may bring up some stuff like generational trauma, programming, maybe even past life stuff, but it's really feeling the energy in the body and having a relationship with that energy that it's being kept in the body. And when we build that relationship with this energy that's being kept in the body, then there's a shift that's happening. And then there's almost like this, like a connection that's happening. And because there's so much conflict within us, within our bodies. There's so much conflict. And a lot of these conflicts, we can't even understand where it came from and what it is because there's so much that we're holding in our bodies that's been going for generations. But if we are like just working with the energy that's arising in the body and we're letting that energy move through our body there's a lot of ways to move energy. One really, really, really big thing is feeling your feelings, feeling an emotion. And emotions, it's energy in motions. Energy naturally just wants to move. I talk about it in the other YouTube video that I made, so I'll put it here up here. But there is something really potent about just becoming aware of what's arising in the moment and just let it move through. Just let it move. Just let it be expressed in whatever way, shape, or form. I honestly don't even know why I felt the pull to turn on the camera today, but so when I turned on the camera, I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about, but here we are. Especially as women, the womb space holds so much sexual trauma. So much sexual trauma. Oh my gosh. Because the thing about trauma is it's being passed down from generations to generations. And so sexual trauma is something that unfortunately is very, 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 very huge in our world. And it's being passed down from generations to generations, but it's also in the collective. Yeah, what I feel the pull to go to is just like talk about the power of unconditional love and nurturing. There was another piece in my meditation, how it started today. I really felt this grandmother energy, and I just felt like swimming in like nurturing vibe, like really feeling the nurturing and like rubbing my head and my shoulders and like really feeling the nurturing that I received from that grandmother energy. It feels something similar to Mother Gaia, like that type of energy. And and then from there, I was able to go to the womb space. But what came up for me is, actually it's something I've been working on in the past, I'd say, few weeks. The wound of nurturing, the wound of lack of nurturing. The wound of lack of nurturing in our world. And something I've been reflecting on in my own journey is there's so much unfelt grief. There's so much unfelt grief about the lack of the nurturing, the lack of the mother. I don't mean like a physical mother, I mean like the energy of nurturing from the mother. And this wound, this huge wound of lack of nurturing that usually sits in our womb space has caused so much in this world. Sex trafficking, all the sex trafficking, all the human trafficking, all of the war that we see in the world. Addiction. I really, addiction is such a big thing in our, in our world. I feel like it's something that is present in every single lineage. And addiction, it doesn't mean to substance or alcohol or sex or porn, or it can be addiction to food, addiction to other people, like really needing other people, addiction to work, addiction to materialism. There's so many types of addiction, and the way I see addiction is being formed in the sacral chakra. And the way I see addiction is the root of addiction is coming from a place of the lack of nurturing, the lack of nurturing, and the inability to experience pleasure, which both of them are manifested in the sacral chakra. But of course, all the chakras are connected. So the root is the one it's the foundation, it's the one that creates the safety. And those two, root and sacral, are totally being hijacked. Totally being hijacked by society. Even if you, just being humans on planet Earth, those two are being hijacked. So when I think of the wound of lack of nurturing, I'm just really seeing this really like dark, toxic web of how it's been passed down generations to generations to generations. And there's so much grief in it. And this grief there's so much grief of the lack of it. And this grief is so freaking trapped. It's so trapped. It's so trapped deeply in our body. And all of us, because all of us, I mean, the way I really see, if someone doesn't pick it, I mean, again, we're picking it up from the collective. So even if you born to a mother who's been doing a lot of work in healing that wound, there's still that's still in the collective. And doing the work to heal that wound, it's really deep. It's really deep wound of humanity. And so what came up for me in the meditation, it was that like I could feel this like grandmother energy and the nurturing. And then I was able to tap into the womb of my entire women lineage from both sides of my mother and my father. And I could feel all of the unfelt like overwhelming emotions that I came with it to the beginning of this video. And I was just sending them all love from that nurturing that I was receiving. Like unconditional love. Especially to my mom. It's really like, it's really crazy when you like, you've done a lot of work on yourself, on healing, and healing the inner child, and healing, and then like it goes like wider to the generational stuff, and really seeing like the patterns of the lineage. And I was just like really imagining that, like, yeah, just like sending all of the women in my lineage, sending them that love, that unconditional love from their womb. Sent it from my heart chakra down to the womb space. And the nice thing about when you work with energy is it works beyond time and space. It's like I could feel like the unconditional love, just like sending an energy of unconditional love it's transforming something, it's transmuting something. unconditional love transmutes trauma. Unconditional love transmutes programming, negative programming. We have our healing squad. It's our close community. And we had it a few days ago, and I facilitated. So actually this week was the topic of the nurturing and the lack of nurturing. So there was 3 prompts that I gave them in the small groups to share about. And I actually wanted to give it to you because it was really powerful, especially if you have a community, whether if it's online or in person, to like do it with people and do it with community. And being able to, being witnessed. Yeah, and just like ask for that. So here are the 3 prompts. So it's like sentence completion. The first one, I encourage you to, write it down. So the first prompt is, I longed for nurturing but didn't receive it when blank. As I'm sharing this, I am feeling blank. Where I feel it in my body is blank. And then if you're in a group, you're open to basically the other people in the group can share their impact by the person sharing. So for example, when you were sharing this, what's coming for me is tightness in my throat, or sadness because I feel really resonate, or whatever the impact is. So that was the first prompt. The second prompt is, the way the lack of nurturing impacted my life is blank. And the way I coped or cope with it is blank. As I'm sharing it, I feel blank. Where I feel the blank in my body is blank. Okay, so it's really, really like bringing us back into our bodies, noticing what's arising, when I'm sharing it. Because a lot of times, which actually happened to a few people in the group, is like we're so dissociated and like disconnected because of protection. So we're so disconnected from the wound itself. So we just talk about it, but we don't really feel it. So even if like you feel numb or disconnected or dissociated, you could say, I feel dissociated, I feel numb, right? And that's already a step closer to the wound. Because in that moment, what happens? In that moment, you started to develop a relationship with that wound. And the third prompt is, the way I would like to feel nurtured now is, if I could ask for anything from the group, what I want to ask is blank. And then you can ask being witnessed for a specific thing that you want to bring up. Maybe you want to ask for being touched in a certain way. Maybe you want to ask for people to tell you certain things. Maybe there are some things you want to hear. So, and I also want to emphasize the idea of, when you're asking for what you need, it's not necessarily with like expecting that the people are going to give it to you, but it's more, the focus is more on the practice of asking it, practice of asking for what you need, and how does it feel to ask. As I'm asking it, I feel really, really edgy. And I feel this edginess in my chest. It feels like this like tension, right? So just like the practice is not necessarily to receive, because the people in the group may give it to you or may not. You never know. And I like really encourage everybody to also do whatever feels right for them, whatever they feel called to do. But that's why I'm emphasizing like that the practice here is to practice to ask for what you need, for what you want, and even be aware of it, because even when you do it, like those prompts, even if you journal about it, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what's going to come up around that. So I really invite you to do that. The nurturing wound is a really, really, really big one. And so I just really want to invite you to get to know this wound and start feeling the feelings that were repressed or unfelt for so long, for so long. And when you do feel the feelings, first of all, there's a few things I want to say, because I know there are a lot of people that are get really overwhelmed by emotions when they come up. So I really, first of all, want you to understand, in terms of chakras, in terms of energy, what happens. So whenever you feel like your emotions are too big and you get super overwhelmed by it and they consume you, what it shows on an energetic level that sacral chakra is too open. Now, if you heard me talking about it before, because chakras are energy is multidimensional. It's not black or white. It's not either too open or closed or blocked or weak. It can be all aspects all at once at the same time in different aspects, because it's so multidimensional, and it's not something that's physical. So you can't really explain it in a physical 3D reality, but it's on an energetic on the energetic plane. So what happens if you do experience that your emotions are kind of taking over, then what that means is that the sacral chakra is too open. So, and when the sacral chakra is too open, it's trying to compensate to the two chakras that are closest to it. So it's going to damage the two chakras that are really closest to it. So in this case, it would be root chakra, where we have our sense of safety, security, stability, belonging, there's more to it. And then the other chakra on the other side is the solar plexus, the third one, which has our sense of self, our self-esteem, our self-worth, our authentic power, our confidence. So if you're like noticing, a lot of times when the emotions are taking over, there's like this really need to have people for your stability too. That may be the case. Or maybe in that aspect it's not too open. So that means like you may just experience overwhelmed by emotion and you don't really know what to do with it, so that's another thing that can happen. There's a lot of different ways that it manifests for people, and it's so different for every single person, because there's no way that there's like every single person, it's totally different with like the nuances and the layers but there's like aspects of like similarities, like mirrors, right? So it's very mirrors, like we're all experiencing the mirrors, but like it's also very different on an energetic level of what's happening. So in this case, what's going to be helpful is to start working on your root chakra, to start opening and balancing your root chakra and create that sense of foundation, that sense of like solid foundation and stability within you. So when those emotions are coming, like they're coming and they want to be felt, you have a solid foundation within you. And so that's the first thing. The root chakra is really open. Now, if you want to learn more about it, I do one-on-one sessions. I do in person in Austin and Austin, Texas, or online. So I'm going to link my website below so you can look at it, what I do if you really want to start working with your chakras, especially building the strong foundation within you. You can go to my website below and fill out an client application form, and then I'll reach out to you and see if we're a good fit. But so that's the first thing. The second thing is that when you do feel your emotions, I really want to invite you to be fully, 100% present with them. 100% present with them. So what does that mean? Like, to me, it looks like when there's grief coming up, I am closing my eyes and I'm almost with, I feel it fully, I let it, I totally immerse in it, and I almost with curiosity, I go all the way to the, almost with curiosity, where does it start? Where does it start? And I really go all the way down. The image is like scoop it out, scoop it out. Because again, emotions are just energy in motions, and energy just wants to move naturally. So it's really going all the way to the bottom and scoop it out and just really go all the way in. Because what happens is that when we just hovering above it and we basically don't go all the way down, but we just like, let's say at the top here hovering, then there's all of this like depth that is still there, and it's still gonna stay there. So if we don't let ourselves feel fully all the way to the bottom and scoop it out, then it's still gonna stay there if you're still like hovering at the top. So that's one thing I want to say about it. And the other thing is that when you hover, so this is how like a quick like trick on how you're gonna know, because that's usually how it works. When you really truly scooping it all the way from the bottom, you're gonna notice that, let's say you feel grief, you're gonna notice it's gonna stop in 1 second because you truly went all the way to the bottom and felt it. So when you don't, when you're hovering above and you don't really go all the way to the emotion, then you'll notice that it's kind of like lingering around for like days, weeks, months, years maybe. So I really want to invite you to notice, like, with curiosity, where does it end, the emotion, where does it end? And then you'll notice if you are feeling, after, like when you feel fully the emotion, you're just gonna be done with that. And now if it's grief about a lost one, for example, it doesn't mean that, okay, I'm done with it, I'm never gonna be feeling it again. No, it's waves. It may come back. I mean, it's probably will come back. So it doesn't, if it comes back and you really did like this way that I was kind of sharing right now, and it does coming back, it doesn't mean that you didn't do it right. Or, I mean, honestly, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's really, what I'm sharing is like a suggestion, and you'll know for yourself how it feels like for you and what feels right for you. And I want to invite you to do that, actually. I really want to invite you to really feel what feels good for you, because there may be a point where you're really going all the way to the emotion, but then your little girl, your little boy doesn't feel safe. They feel scared. So it's really important to listen and be gentle, because some of the things may be a bit too much for your little one. So in that case, you're gonna have to start building a relationship with your inner child, which that's a whole another topic that I'm gonna be talking about in a different video. But it's really, I want to invite you to really like listen to what feels safe for you, what feels good for you, what feels in alignment for you, and just feel for you what resonating, what's not, and you know, you can choose for yourself what feels good. But yeah, like the waves is that there may be a thing that it comes back later. Candle. And that's normal. That's normal. It's not like, oh, I'm done with the grief and it's gonna be gone. No, it's gonna, you know, we have a lot to feel. And whenever we feel our emotions, let's say you do like a lot of healing work and you feel all the emotions that haven't been felt for years, thousands of years, generations, past lives, whatever. It's a lifestyle. It's not something that, you know, you do for a certain amount of time and then you're done with it. So but again, it's like I mentioned in the other video that I shared, is that you can choose. You get to choose if you choose to go into that, or how deep you can go, or how deep you feel the pull to like, you know, go to, or not. And either way, it's totally okay. There's no right or wrong way. It's really whatever feels right for you, and you get to choose. And so if you are feeling like you're in a place where you really want to get into this work and you're not really sure how, I'm going to share it the way I usually share it, is I really want you to really tune in with your body and feel for yourself in your body, how does it feel for you to work with the chakras, to work with the body, to really go into the root cause in the energetic body and really get to know it and really transmute and transform by creating a relationship, by, you know, transmute from a place of unconditional love. So if that feels resonating with you, if you feel the nudge, if you feel the pull, I invite you again to go to the links down below and go to my website, and like I mentioned earlier. And if you liked this video, if it was helpful for you, I would really appreciate the feedback. I would really appreciate, you know, hearing how it impacted you. What happened to you in your body when you were listening to some of the things that I was sharing? Did you feel it? Did you feel the resonance or not? And either way, it's okay. I'm really curious. So let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content around the chakras and generational trauma, childhood, you know, all the things healing and awakening. So I really want to thank you for watching and staying so far. And I am sending you so much unconditional love. And follow your passions, follow your passions, because that's going to lead you to beautiful places.